things they really want to learn in this conference. So, but yeah, thanks for coming. So again, Frank Hurst, at Echo Global Logistics, I run the less than truckload department. So I'm responsible for pricing, carrier relations, carrier management, and then also responsible for our consolidation and temperature control offerings. So that really consists of reefer consolidation. We've got a company called Rotex, which I'll talk about here in a minute, and then we also have a nice warehousing program again. So I spent the last 30 years of my career in the less than truckload business, run operations and sales, and I'm an operator at heart, and really an LTL. So it's funny, I was walking the conference floor, and a couple of my friends from the LTL group were like, "What in the world are you doing talking about OTIF and consolidation? What do you know? You should be talking about LTL." But I've had the opportunity the last year and a half within Echo to lead teams that and great solutions that partner with clients to really talk about the pain points they have in deliveries into mass merchant, big box retail, and how they can improve their OTIF scores. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about the businesses that we have. Also going to talk about some of the solutions that we've come for, and then really want to open it up in any questions that you have. I think what's interesting is that this is not going to be a 30-minute sales pitch on Echo Global Logistics and Rotex, because there are a lot of great consolidators that are out there, right? And we recognize that. We feel that we're a little bit different from the standpoint that we are temperature controlled consolidator, and there's only one or two that participate in within the Walmart consolidation program. So I'll talk a little bit about that, but understand that we feel that as we've worked with a lot of clients, we've really addressed some of their pain points that have improved their on-time and full performance, which then allows them to have additional floor space, additional space that they have on end caps, obviously increases their sales, and has greatly reduced some of the fines and penalties that they have. So, okay, Rotex. Let's talk a little bit about, why in the world would somebody be talking about LTL consolidation and OTIF? Echo loves the consolidation platform, loves the space. We've always participated in consolidation. We've got a reefer consolidation program today that we ship out about 5 markets, that 33 to 37 degrees. We've put some chilled coolers in facilities so we can actually do cross-docking, and we'll actually consolidate shipments going into mass merchants and big box retail. Because as you can imagine, when you're dealing with food, pharma, you're dealing with nutraceuticals and proteins, the distribution arm for those products is through mass merchants and big box retailers. And so that's really where the pain point comes, is within those types of deliveries. We also have, about 2 years ago, Echo bought a company called Rotex, which is a temperature controlled warehousing and less than truckload platform. So every facility, our food grade facilities, FDA certified, all in that 55 to 65 degree range. Products, like I mentioned before, that really can't melt and can't freeze at the same time. So it's kind of the Goldilocks of products, just not too hot, not too cold. But we have temperature controlled warehouses, full warehouse services, display building for clients, value added services, forward positioning, and then we'll do full inventory management for clients. And then within these facilities, we have transportation, where we run a complete LTL network with 32 facilities across the country with all reefers, and as you can imagine, work 24/7 because all the deliveries are going into mass merchants. And I mentioned, earlier, I came out of LTL. And so when you're an LTL operator, like a lot of people in this room, like Jeff and Tom and others, the last type of delivery that an LTL company wanted years ago were mass merchants, grocery warehouses, big box retail, right? Because it's high appointments, they tied up your equipment, you had detention, lumpers, and all these things that were really messy from a less than truckload perspective. It's interesting, now I'm in a part of the business where I love that type of business overall from a mass merchants. But one of the challenges that we've always had in talking with clients is the fact that OTIF, on time and full, right? What you're dealing with companies like Walmart and Target and KeHE Foods and all these people where they arrange the appointments. So you set a PO, you get your appointment back. But the real challenge is you got to go set that appointment. And what if the appointment you set physically does not align? They don't have a first available appointment. So now you're taking first available appointment. However, the shipper or the customer is going to receive charges and fines, and they're going to not participate well under their scorecards within Walmart, Target, and others. And so because of that, we make the stated transit time as an LTL provider, or everyone else does. However, you can't make an appointment, so they get charges and fines for missing the service perspective. So in working with our clients, our largest customer was Walmart, our consignee. Almost 20% of our business moves into Walmart. 46,000 shipments, I think 280,000 pallets last year. So we worked with Walmart because, again, we're in that temp control space, ambient, but we can handle dry freight as well. And so we worked with them to see how can we reduce the number of trailers at doors, how can we reduce the number of appointments we're setting, and how can we align appointments to improve the OTIF scores, because that's what Walmart wants as well. So we worked with Walmart and we created a pool consolidation program. We started in Greenfield, Indiana. We've opened up Somerset, New Jersey, and then we're moving into Chino, California, and Dallas, Texas next. But what's interesting of this is that Walmart's really easy to work with once you find somebody that you can communicate with at Walmart. But then you get the 9-digit Walmart identification code. And then when POs are placed, you can only use one consolidator. And at that point, when the POs are placed, then Walmart, in essence, works with us to build the trucks direct into their 42 DCs. So we're running hundreds of trucks a week now that are going direct into these Walmart DCs. And I'll share a story in a minute with one of our clients where the level of on-time service is drastically improved. And at the same time, it's allowed them to focus really on their core part of their business. Because we know that delivering into these large mass merchants and big box retail can be very daunting, right? Especially with new startup companies, because they're focused on marketing, they're focused on getting the capital and new product lines and so forth, and they understand the distribution arm for CPG is these mass merchants. And because of that, now they're getting fines and chargebacks and poor scorecards and so forth. So really that's where we feel there's an opportunity to work with consolidators, other third-party logistics groups that are really experts in this space to be able to really help them so they can focus on their core parts of the business. Really simply, okay, what is OTIF? On time in full, right? It's pretty simple. Just manages the percentage of shipments that deliver on time and also in full by the carton, by the PO number overall. So really quickly, did the shipment arrive on time? And did the shipment arrive in full? Pretty simple, right? The way that Walmart's program specifically works is that it ensures that prepaid suppliers must deliver 90% on time and 95% in full. Collect shippers, where they pick up physically from their facilities, 98% on time and 95% in full. And they're fined 3% of the cost of goods sold on both sides, right? No matter if they're late or if their product is not in full. And so what we've done is we feel that there's a real opportunity from a consolidation standpoint. Instead of running shipments in LTL, like I mentioned, through a consolidation program, by being able to align the POs with the trucks, set one appointment, we've actually realized significant on-time improvements with clients. We have one client that does vitamins, supplementals, proteins, and so forth that were being fined over $25,000 a month just from Walmart. And the biggest reason was because the on-time delivery was in the high 80s based on first available appointment, based on when we could physically schedule trucks and so forth. And so at the same time, we were so focused on scorecards that their service was pretty poor overall, and they were getting fined. Through the consolidation program, they're now delivering at 98.9% on time and 96% in full. So one of the things I like to talk about, especially with clients and customers, is when looking at various options in the big box, is you have to look at the total cost of transportation. It's not just the cost of the shipment from Chicago, Illinois to a Walmart DC, right? What's the total cost? What's inventory cost? How much management is there, additional management within that business to manage the scorecards? What are the fines? What are the penalties? And really look at it from an end-to-end solution of what's the total cost of transportation. And so we feel that through a consolidation program, not only have they seen their sales drastically increase, because now they have floor space, because when you're a preferred supplier of Walmart, as you know, then you get preferential space in shocks for floors and stocks and shelves and so forth. So they see their sales increase. They see their order to cash improve, right? And because all we do is we align their lead times with the transit times, and then when the orders are placed, they're dropped and it runs direct in. And it doesn't have to be, we have warehouses that could be stored in, or we could run cross docks as well. And so all it takes is run an LTL, run a truckload in, you've already got the POs set in the schedules, and the freight runs direct to all these 42 Walmart DCs across the country. So it makes life a lot easier, simplification. At the same time, since you're not running through a traditional LTL type network where you're going to have to pay for, there's going to be a costing mechanism of what's the pickup cost, what's the origin dock cost, what's the line haul cost, the destination delivery, and so forth. By being able to cut out the end of that, it should always be more cost effective. So we've already seen within our program that we're running about 19% less miles than what we were previous in the Walmart consolidation. So you think about green initiatives, you think about the ability to get product faster, run less miles. It's a win-win from a cost standpoint and also from a carbon emissions reduction overall from sustainability. So with that, I think I wrote down a couple of best practices. Number one, it's important to understand your scorecard. Right, it's not hard. You can work with Walmart to really understand what are the reasons that you're failing, and be able to really get boots on the ground, go to suppliers. We've had opportunities where we've physically gone with customers to their shipping locations, and we've worked with them on the pallet count to make sure that we have the right pallets, and really work through a standard operating procedure. Worked with our data analytics team. Scott Friesen's here, worked with his team quite a bit on the right establishment for route optimization, planning, to make sure we have all the data, because that's what's really important is you got to understand the data around on-time service, around in-full rates, and make sure the scorecard that you have from these suppliers and these big box retails match the scorecards that you have internally. So we spend a lot of time on that. We're big fans of data, but I think that's to have that alignment from information. Same thing about understanding real-time track and trace capabilities. Partnering with those type of providers that have API connectivity for live track and trace to understand where the trailers are, because as we all know as well, what's really important is if you're going to be late, is to how do you work with Walmart to reschedule the appointment within those windows. And that's been a big key takeaway for us as well, because there's going to be weather. There's going to be hurricanes, there's going to be storms and so forth, but the ability to proactively plan and communicate ahead of time to your customers, at the same time to Walmart, Target, and these other locations, it really allows that then when charges and fines may come back, that they can contest those fines as well. So having that information is really important. I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of great consolidators out there. Obviously, C.H. Robinson, RJW, Echo feels like we have a really great platform as well. K-Stack. So there's a lot of great consolidators out there. So again, this is not to be a 30-minute sales pitch on Echo, but really learned a lot to find out the fact that there's a lot of experts in the space, and really it allows to leverage the buying power they have from a transportation perspective, from a truckload perspective, and then at the same time be able to use the analytics and data that they have. So these shippers can focus now on their core parts of the business versus really spending many hours going through scorecards, and then not only that on the back end of trying to manage all the fines and chargebacks that come with it as well. And then I think what's really important is having open, honest dialogue. That's one of the things we've learned as well, is that it's sitting down and being a true partner with our shippers to understand what are the issues, what are the obstacles you're having with OTIF, and be very transparent back and forth and work together to run through the reporting, to understand the networks, the lead times. There's a lot of front-end work that needs to be done to understand what's the lead time, what's the PO, make sure Walmart has it. Do you have your Care Connect transits updated properly to make sure those POs flow? And then plan for contingencies. That's one of the things we talk about every week, is that when you're dispatching hundreds of trucks into the Walmart DCs and into KeHE Foods and all these other places, is to make sure we know ahead of time and plan for these contingencies, because that communication is extremely valuable. Like I mentioned earlier, from a planning perspective, and being able to make sure that you can work with these shippers and suppliers at the same time. There's my LinkedIn profile. Thanks to our marketing team. Follow me on LinkedIn. I'd love to chat. I told you I was going to make this pretty quick, right? This is, so now we have some time for some Q&A. I know that, if anybody knows me knows that I don't typically miss a drink. And so if I'm in between, my presentation's in between the bar being open, I knew I had to move through this pretty quickly to make sure that everybody got out of here, because otherwise there'd be a quick line out the door. So really important. What questions do you have? What can I answer for you that we've seen and examples that we've had? And I can talk you through some other examples as well. Yes, ma'am.
We do some of our dry units through Consolidated. What's the average shelf life for the beneficial to make Consolidated?
That's a great question. So typically it's around 60 to 90 days. Every type of product is different, but we have over 2 million square feet of warehouse space just in Greenfield, Indiana. So we have 3 facilities there. So it's all various, but we have all lots. We track it by lot on what the shelf space is, and then what we do is we align how much inventory we have versus their output and POs, and then at that point we'll work with them on data and analytics to make sure that, hey, we've got first in, first out, or last in, first out, and so forth. But we can handle. We've learned that there's a lot of customers. I grew up in LTL, so these are cross docks that are open with dust and propane and so forth. These are food grade facilities, right? So the ability to handle product that is the cleanest environments is also really important. You think about optics with things like protein bars and shakes, ready to drink shakes, things that could be in an untemperature controlled warehouse. Having them is also really important just for shelf life and stability of the product itself. It's a great question. Yes, sir.
Could you tell us kind of broadly how it works commercially?
Sure, that's a great question. So first off, I got to tell you, Arkansas fan. I see the Auburn thing, so that's.
Everybody can say that.
Trust me, it's going to be a long year for the Razorbacks. It sure is. That's what we're looking forward to. So that's been one of the real benefits for us commercially, is to be able to go in front of clients that have OTIF concerns, and it's really a draw. I think that's another reason that I would say to look at a consolidator, because when we get in front of a lot of shippers and we say the word consolidation and 98.9% on-time service, it opens a lot of doors because they do understand the value of it overall. And it goes back to what I said about being such a daunting task, where that to really understand, what does it mean to have 90% on time for prepaid shippers and 95% in full, and understand that a lot of these shippers that we deal with, a lot of them are startups, and they don't really have the expertise in-house. And so commercially, to be able to go in to work with them and make a connection with Walmart sometimes as well to understand exactly, and KeHE Foods and Kroger and all these others, to make sure that they're aligning the right information. That's typically what we find, is that somewhere along the way, the information that they've provided on the POs, there's not enough time. And so working, in coordination with those shippers. But it's been really positive from us from a commercial standpoint, just opening doors, and then realizing a lot of times that, a lot of these shippers, they may try to be looking for the lowest cost of landed transportation, but they're looking at the total transportation cost. So they may have it spread out between several different types of providers. And when you start working on a consolidation program, that could be, we have some where we have product that are in our facilities, like in Somerset, where we warehouse for them. And then we run cross docks along from some of their co-mans as well, and pull the shipments together and run direct. There's a real cost savings for us as well that we're able to pass off to the customer. So that tends to be a draw. Anytime you could talk about cost savings and at the same time be able to talk about improving their OTIF performance and being a supplier of choice to Walmart, it's been really beneficial.
About how many retailers do you guys do consolidation for?
We're in the pool consolidation for Walmart today, and then we do consolidation at our facilities for probably another 12 to 15. But density's the name of the game there, right? So we're always going to look to align POs. And so the way our system works is that when a shipment drops and or tendered to us, we'll physically work to start setting the appointments based on the must arrive by date or the RAD date prior to even picking the shipment up. And that's a real key as well, is to have the tools and technology to be able to set those appointments, and then use the analytics team to be able to combine those together to say, we have an appointment going to KeHE Foods, let's say, as an example, and being able to use the intelligence that we have to say, we know we're going to have 2 or 3 other shipments this week based on historical trends to align those together and set that appointment. And then we optimize our network accordingly. So we will consolidate those based on timing, which is a big key because you can't bump the docks, 3 days in a row.
And just one location in the network, or is it in multiple locations in the network that you guys do the consolidation?
We do Walmart consolidation in 2 facilities today, Somerset and in Greenfield, Indiana. And then out of 32 other facilities, we do direct consolidation into all the other mass merchants and grocery warehouses as well. We do, yes, sir. And so as you can imagine, it becomes pretty, from a route planning and optimization standpoint, becomes somewhat challenging. We could never do without the analytics team because a lot of times you're running from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, maybe taking coffee or some spices from that facility, and you're going to run to Memphis, Tennessee, and you're going to pick up 3 other shipments that are destined to a Kroger Foods, multi-stop truckloads. That's exactly right. But it's incumbent upon us to be efficient. Right, because as you know, in a space like this where, especially when you think of temp control, number one, it's extremely more expensive than dry. But we've got to be the most cost effective that we can to be able to pass that savings off to the customer. And we were talking earlier about especially with the excess capacity in the truckload market today, where shippers could probably get a truckload today for 15 pallets. For being able to run a truckload direct. Now, what we know is that the capacity is going to tighten up. There's going to be events like could be weather events, could be a strike and so forth. And when that capacity tightens up, that's really when the opportunity flips even more, or where it becomes much more cost advantageous for consolidators.
And one more question. How critical has it been to report back to your customers the impact to their carbon emissions or ESG compliance initiatives?
That has become it's almost part of every QBR that we have now. We're getting those questions about ERG. We're getting those questions about what we're doing for DEI. All of those things that are so important on being a supplier of choice and a customer of choice. So that always comes up. It's funny you mentioned we were talking that we had a leadership conference last week, and something that really hit me was that you think about data and the importance of being able to communicate. Is that one of our large customers said that he left and went to another company, and we were fortunate enough that he brought us with him. But one of the things he said was that the number one thing, the reason I enjoy working with your company was because of the data and the QBRs and the information that we share back and forth, which I think is important for anybody in sales, right? My first takeaway was that we have to be really regimented on our QBRs because it's really a value. I think it just goes back to having the data, because otherwise they're going to be trying to mine the data themselves, and it's never going to align, and how we can be the intermediary in between that to make sure the data matches. But that constant flow of communication and the QBRs, whether it be sustainability, their on-time scores, their total transportation costs, we've got a new, I think this is probably going to become more of an emerging trend, is we have a new piece of business that's starting in November where they said, Frank, this is great. We love it. This sounds great. You're saying 98.9% on-time service. Put your money where your mouth is. And so we signed a contract where we basically are going to guarantee a level of service. And if the level of service goes less, then they're going to get a discount. And they were nice enough, and they understand the value in partnership. If you exceed it, then we're going to pay more. So I think that really aligned with me about the importance of really on-time service and meeting the OTIF requirements, being a supplier of choice for these mass merchants, how that's so much more important than truly the cost of transportation. But it's the first one we've done of that sort. We have a couple of others where we've guaranteed we'll pay their charges and fines as well if they do get fined, which I think is important. If you're going to sell a product and you're going to sell it at 98, 99% on time, you better back it up. Right, and that's especially when you think of when you could have 3% of product cost that comes back, and being on time, missing on full, especially in our warehouse customers. It's critical that we back that up. I should have talked to y'all before I did my presentation. I could have included a lot more information. Anything else?
Frank, what's the lead time look like on all the consolidation stuff?
Good question. So, yes. That's right. Right. So that's a really good point. I should have covered back on the Walmart piece. The way it works is that when you work with Walmart as a pool consolidator, you'll sit down and you will give them your transit times, number one, the transit time that you have from when a truck leaves, and it's going direct, so the transit time is typically not going to be that of a typical LTL. So you give them your transit times from all these origin destination locations, and then you work with the shipper and say, tell me your lead times for product. How much lead time do you need in the products? And then we start working with them to say, you say 6 days, and then we start going through to see, we've done Kaizen events where we work with clients to see, you say 6 days, can we cut 2 days out of that? Again, that's where the real value is how do you increase, reduce their cost of capital, improve their order to cash cycle. And then once that's uploaded in our system or any other consolidator system, then at that point, those POs, when a PO is tendered over, at that point, they already have the appointment date set, and we have the alignment, and so therefore, then it becomes just execution. Which again, talk about planning for contingencies, making sure that you got the right visibility and so forth becomes so critical in that. But really, once the front end work is done, then it pretty much flows pretty consistently after that. There's always going to be lead times that we're told to be 4 days, and actually they're 6. But having the data around that to make sure that the execution and communicate back is really important, because for us, we want to track the on-time scorecards, not when they get them from their suppliers. We want to track them daily, so we're able to tell them ahead of time, because as you know, there's a lag time in the fines and penalties that are received, and so the more that you're on top of it really allows you to go to that shipper and say, I think we have a problem early, and so that way we can address it and really could reduce a lot of the fines and penalties that they could receive as well. Great question.
Do you find that they don't push you out as much on appointments because it's temp controlled?
Well, it's interesting you say that. So on the especially the Walmart consolidation, Walmart sets the appointment for us and they build the trucks. They said, you're going to put these orders on this truck. And so once the appointment's set, it's just execution of delivery at that point. Within the temperature controlled, we, on the other side with the consolidation, we do live by PO. Because since it is temp control, we don't drop equipment. And so we'll do live by PO, which we feel is important as well, because it gets that confirmation of delivery for tracking and trace. And then if there are delays that we have, or we arrive and we're delayed, we notate that again so we can push that back to the shipper so they can contest the fines and penalties they have. Great question. All right, thanks for coming. I appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your conference. Listen, I had 12 other people that are trying to compete against us in this, so thanks for showing up. If you see me at the bar, I'll buy you a cocktail for showing up. So thanks so much. Have a great day.